Story 1. Turkey. Cats. I adore cats. I love that we feed and care for the stray cats well for the most part. The thing I dislike, I cannot say without risking trouble. Story 2. Taiwan. Love. Convenient, safe, and free. Life is extremely peaceful. Hate. Living so close to China and under the threat they pose. Also, indecisiveness by previous governments did not help the situation. Story 3. United Kingdom. I love the identity and much of our culture and history. I dislike how stressful day-to-day life is. It feels like everything on the news is negative and that everything revolves around work and money. Also, the weather is mostly miserable and cloudy. In the winter, it rarely snows, and in the summer, we might get a few weeks of sunshine, but the rest is either rainy or gray. Story 4. Germany. I love the possibilities I have, such as switching jobs or learning something new and receiving financial support without much trouble. I dislike the direction this country is heading, politically and socially. It is very sad to see. Story 5. Scotland. I have come to resent the people and our negative, uninspiring attitudes. I hate that everything revolves around alcohol, and I feel we no longer have any real identity or culture. Parts of Scotland are not as westernized, and much of it is undeniably beautiful, which is often undermined by abysmal weather. I have lived here all my life and have completely fallen out of love with it. I am hoping to leave the United Kingdom within 2 years. Story 6. Australia is amazing. However, an average person earning $70,000 a year cannot afford a house that costs over $1 million, and the price increases faster than they can save. Story 7. Czech Republic. I love how you are basically invisible and nobody cares what you do as long as you are not bothering anyone. I love the peace and quiet in trams and buses. I do not hate it, but I dislike how limited side dishes are in Czech restaurants. It is usually potatoes and more potatoes. Story 8. Ireland. I love the landscapes. I dislike the high cost of living and the weather, which is rainy 2/3 of the year. Story 9. Russia. I like nature and my neighborhood, which has forests, good parks with ponds, a big mall, and everything I need within walking distance. I dislike almost everything related to politics, both domestic and international, and delivery workers on electric bikes driving on the sidewalks. I hate the period of 10 days when we don't have hot water because the utility service is checking and repairing something, but a couple of days later we are again without hot water because, in reality, they did nothing. This happens year after year. Story 10. Philippines. I am proud to be a Filipino, and that is what I love. What I hate about our country is the politics and the political dynasty. Story 11. Canada. I feel very fortunate to live in a country with relatively no major wars or conflicts. The landscape is beautiful and the people are friendly. I do not appreciate the history we have with our indigenous peoples and the homelessness crisis, which is not unique to Canada. Lastly, I cannot say I am too fond of the threat of becoming a state. Story 12. Australia. We travel huge distances, yet the police have little better to do than over-police our roads. We have 5-lane freeways that are permanently set to 80 kilometers per hour. That is 49 miles per hour for Americans. The police will seize your vehicle, and you will go to court and lose your license for 12 months if you are caught driving at 105 kilometers per hour. The speed limit should be 120 kilometers per hour anyway. Story 13. Netherlands. Love. Biking everywhere, good roads, and how relaxed everyone is. Hate. The weather seems to be in a constant identity crisis with rain, sun, hail, and wind all within 10 minutes. Also, try finding affordable housing without compromising yourself. Story 14. England. Everything is so expensive. Housing is unaffordable. The National Health Service is struggling, and there are just too many people in this country. Story 15. I am from Reunion Island and I dislike most of it. Cannot wait to leave. If you are curious, it is like a miniature version of the United States without the firearms. At least we have free healthcare, but the staff are so limited that I had to fly to another country to receive treatment. I love the sea, but it is hard to access unless you have a driver's license and are willing to drive for 3 hours. Story 16. My nationality is Peruvian, and what I like is peanuts because they are crunchy and provide good fats. Story 17. United States, also known as the States. There is nothing united about it at all. Being born in a timeline where I am literally watching the fall of an empire in real time. Story 18. Oh no. I am not sure I would like to play this game. I am from Israel. What I like is that the country is very advanced technologically. There are many startups, and the holidays have some of the best food, except Passover. What I dislike is that, being just another random person, it is literally impossible to say where I am from without inciting political talk or outraging random strangers. I dare guess that there is a high chance I will receive downvotes and unpleasant comments for stating the name of the country right now. The world often cannot distinguish between the country and an individual citizen. Wherever I go and whatever I do online, just saying where I am from causes people to share their opinions about the country. I do not care, as it is not like I can change anything about the country. Story 19. Netherlands. Like, everything is organized perfectly. Dislike. It is the most boring and bland country in the world, and life has become so expensive that unless you earn a six-figure income, you cannot really live here anymore. Story 20. Australia. I hate the high cost of living. I like the natural beauty of the country. We need to look after it instead of urban sprawl. Less is more. I would prefer denser urban cores or smaller populations rather than the current population explosion in our cities causing identical houses in all the farmland and forests. Story 21. United States of America. I like my job, spouse, and other opportunities one have here that I would not have had elsewhere. I do not like number 47 or the damage he has done to our country. Story 22. United States of America. I love the freedoms we have, and I am lucky we do, but I dislike the government and what is happening. Story 23. United States of America. I like the people. This country is full of kind and helpful individuals and is a composite of many different backgrounds and cultures. It is truly wonderful. I hate that extremists have taken over and facts no longer matter. I hate how individualistic we are. I hate that we do not fund anything except bombing children halfway across the world. I hate that we act as villains and bullies diplomatically. I just wish we were better. When I was growing up, we were told everything was improving and the world was becoming more tolerant and peaceful. What a lie. Story 24. Australia. Love the usual things. Nature, mostly uncrowded areas, generally safe, and a good lifestyle. Hate the current weather. Winter is difficult. The biggest news story is more cases of child predators being uncovered at our childcare centers. So I strongly dislike them. I also dislike how ineffective our government is at regulating important matters like childcare, while being overzealous in regulating less important or unenforceable issues, such as age restrictions on internet searches. Story 25. I am Dutch, living in Switzerland. What I like most is the high income and good quality of life. Life is easy and comfortable. Additionally, there is beautiful nature, and you can always drive to the mountains over the weekend. The downside is the relatively conservative mindset of people and the difficulty of making friends for someone who does not already have a local circle. People tend not to be very open. Moreover, it is almost boring in its perfection. Cities are quiet, and there is very little to do. There is plenty to do here if you enjoy outdoor activities, but not much on the cultural side. Story 26. Croatia is a beautiful country with many abandoned buildings. However, I dislike the political environment, as most of the thieves are politicians. Story 27. Sweden. The good. It is a peaceful country. I have always felt fortunate to live in a part of the world where it is safe. There are no natural disasters, no extreme weather, no war, and very few dangerous or venomous animals to watch out for. Our popular culture in modern times is really growing, especially in the music and video game industries. It feels like we are very open and tolerant of others and are keen on giving everyone a fair chance. The bad. The focus on the individual has gone to the extreme. People focus only on themselves and do not care about anyone else. The healthcare system is abysmally incompetent and lacks empathy. It is becoming increasingly difficult to get the help you truly need. Organized crime is rising like never before. I cannot help but worry about my future. Story 28. Sweden. Love. It is mostly safe and peaceful. We are privileged in almost every aspect and have the means to accomplish most of what we want to a high degree. Hate. The increasingly polarized political discourse among residents, American imported moral standards, and the traditional Swedish bureaucracy. Story 29. United States, what I hate most is the illusion of choice between red and blue. It is a mental construct, not a meaningful difference in practice. Both sides uphold systems rooted in colonialism, economic exploitation, and rule by force. The rhetoric may shift, but the machinery remains the same. At this point, it feels like a performance driven entirely by money and power, not principle or public good. It is hard to see it as anything but a joke. Story 30. I live in New Amsterdam. I love my country because you can pursue any career or entertainment path. I dislike it because it is under occupation by the United States of America. Story 31. Denmark is boring. The people, the music, the movies, the culture, the weather, and the news, everything is dull. It is a good place to live but painfully boring. Story 32. South Africa. It is winter now, and on my side of the country that means rain. Lots of rain. This is nice for a few days, but I dislike it because my washing will not dry. Drying machines are not very popular here, so we do not have one. What I love about it now and always is the culture. It is hard to pin down South African culture because we are a mix of many cultures, but the atmosphere is always excellent when South Africans are around. Story 33. Canada. I love living in a polite society with free healthcare and our cultural mosaic that appreciates other cultures and the voices of its people. I hate our colonial past, particularly the displacement and violence towards First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Story 34. United States of America. Our leadership and approximately half of the voting bloc. Why? There is seemingly a new horror every day. Story 35. The United Kingdom is one of the most open and caring nations in the world, yet racism and prejudice remain very high, and right-wing sentiment is growing. If we are in the top 10, it is terrifying to think how bad the rest of the world must be. However, we are multicultural, busy, exciting, have the National Health Service and benefits system, and a complex history not always positive. I know people who moved here because of our diverse weather, mostly from countries where it is hot almost all the time. At street level, we are constantly striving to improve. At the top level, though, there are efforts to drag us back to Georgian times. The poverty gap is becoming increasingly large. Story 36. I am from Australia. I love our nature and diverse landscapes. I hate that there is a lot of racism here that is downplayed by a large portion of the population. I particularly hate the racism directed towards indigenous people here. Story 37. Singapore is generally safe and very convenient most of the time, but I dislike how densely populated it is. It often feels overcrowded and can be stressful. Story 38. Brazil. Love the people, the food, and the camaraderie. Dislike the weather, such as the high heat perception in Rio last year, corruption, and how unfortunately unsafe it can be. Story 39. New Zealand. The worst thing about this country right now is the tall poppy syndrome we have here. Nobody likes to see you succeed. Everyone hates to see you win. There are obviously people who love to see you shine, but it is really a 1-to-5 ratio. The thing I love about my country is also a contradicting statement. How people are just so nice and helpful. Can't we all just be happy because some of us made it out? Story 40. New Zealand. I love the culture and how relaxed people are, as well as the pies and coffee. I dislike how expensive it is to live, for example, $11 for a block of butter when it is made here. Do not get me started on meat. I also dislike the government making wild decisions in the education sector without proper consideration. Additionally, there is a concerning amount of family violence, especially affecting our children. Story 41. Hungary. Love the girls, hate the direction we are going, our wages, our schools, our trains, our politicians. 283 days. Story 42. South Africa. Beautiful country, nature-wise. It has some of the friendliest people in the world. Strangers will always greet you. It also has one of the highest crime rates in the world, along with corruption and severe racism. Story 43. What is your country? I currently live in Germany. What do you like or hate most currently? Why? The people in Germany are, with few exceptions, submissive subjects who let the state push them around almost willingly. That is something that regularly makes my blood boil. They will never change, though. It is encoded in their DNA. Story 44. Bulgaria. I like the fact that despite everything, we are still on the map and in the European Union. I am often pleasantly surprised by the achievements of Bulgarian people. I dislike the mentality of most people. Bulgarians do not trust the government and do not engage with it, which leads to the government not working effectively. There are also significant problems with corruption and theft, which are common among many individuals. Story 45. I am in the United States. What do I dislike currently? Right now, this heat will not go away. Average days run 95 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Once you get past the heat, you have to deal with the humidity, which is over 80% daily. My tomato plants are thriving. I am not so much. Story 46. United States. What do I like? Well, I'm not dead, so there's that. I mean, the food here is pretty good. What do I dislike? The elite are able to get away with being dishonest. Children are dying in our schools. If you go to the hospital, you will be in debt because there is no free healthcare. Inflation is getting worse. Taxes are increasing. Our country is ruled by grasshoppers, and half of the ants are armed and side with the grasshoppers. I could continue, but I choose not to. Story 47. New Zealand is known for its beautiful nature and friendly people. It offers peace and security, being far away from everything. However, house prices and the cost of everyday items are high, making it difficult for people to find jobs. Story 48. South Africa has one of the best climates in the world. People of all races live together well unless they do not. Story 49. Australia. Love. The culture and multicultural diversity, the beautiful nature, the cities, the nightlife, parks, schools. Dislike. Not trying to be mean, the new wave of immigrants and the large numbers of immigration. Story 50. Why is this labeled not safe for work? But anyways, my country is Myanmar and the rest does not need to be explained. Story 51. I am in the United States of America. I love how regionally different we all are. I hate that we do not have free universal healthcare or higher education. Story 52. Reunion Island, French Island. Love the sea and mountain all in one landscape island. The people are nice. Good weather. Dislike the local lobbying that makes prices 2 to 3 times higher than in European France. Groceries, cars, energy, everything. The road system is not adapted to the many cars imported every year, causing constant traffic jams. Rent is rising rapidly since the island is not expandable and many French from Europe come short-term for medical jobs. Pay double on the island. No plane tickets are lower than 500 euros if you want to travel. No culture besides the local one, so no concerts, clubs, or nightlife except for small local venues that are very repetitive. Story 53. America. I like that I feel I can have an opinion on anything. I hate the political climate because no one can have a dialogue. Story 54. Australia. We have a robust democracy, a beautiful natural environment, universal healthcare, and a fantastic multicultural society. It is also a pretty safe country. What I do not like is the impact of climate change and the current cost of living. Story 55. United States. I hate the clear and rapid descent into fascism. I do not love anything about my country. All this place has ever done is oppress me for who I am. Story 56. Netherlands. Hate. Long waiting times for mental health care. Love. There is a lot I appreciate, but what I value most is the Wajong benefit. Story 57. I think my country is obvious. I love the people here. They are super friendly. It may sound like we are being rude, but we are not. I hate the fact that we are not awake when most things we are interested in happen, such as game updates. Story 58. Greece. Like the nature, weather, and the people mostly. Dislike the corruption in the government and economy. Story 59. Philippines. Hate crab mentality, making children their pension plans, expecting to provide for everyone including extended families, financial illiteracy, corruption in politics, and nowadays locals taking advantage of foreigners. I am deeply disgusted. Love beaches. Story 60. Mexico. I love our sunny weather, the kindness of most of our people, our beautiful magical towns, beaches, forests, our food. Oh, the food and our culture. I hate that despite everything we have as a country, we cannot become a first world country even though we could if most people and politicians changed their corrupt way of thinking. Story 61. South Korea. I love the convenience and friendliness of many people. I dislike how harsh the working culture is and how difficult student life can be for many students. Story 62. Austria is a very beautiful country for holidays and sightseeing. However, I dislike the attitude of most people in business or those with higher aspirations. Story 63. Nigeria. I like how social we are and the diversity in our cultures. I do not like how insecurity makes it difficult to enjoy life and that there is nothing reasonable on the news. Story 64. Algeria, like the life and people, but hates the corruption in the government preventing us from becoming a better nation. Story 65. England. Like the culture here and our sense of humor. The way we can roast each other and banter yet be friends is something I enjoy. Plus, many of the best comedians, in my opinion, come from England. Dislike chavs and roadmen. Why? Because they scare me. They are not nice or safe people, and all races can be like this, including white people. Chav men tend to be loud, aggressive, and violent, while chav women tend to be loud, obnoxious, and aggressive. Story 66. Mexico. I love the weather and nature. I hate that our government is corrupt and lenient with criminal organizations. Story 67. Canada. I dislike that we are very close to the United States. I am not apologizing. Your president is a fool. Story 68. Brazil. Despite no longer living there, I love the culture, identity, climate, and environment. However, I dislike that it is always hot, that the working day is exhausting, and that people earn very little from a currency of low value. Story 69. I live in the United States. I love that it is a cultural melting pot and our foundational principles of freedom and equality. I strongly dislike the government. Happy 4th of July. Story 70. United States of America. Love my state and its respective government, as well as our federal representatives. Dislike the federal administration. Story 71. India. Love the beauty, the food, the history, and the culture. Dislike the people who never learn or want to improve. Story 72. I am from Ireland, Cork to be specific. I love how welcoming the vast majority of our people are. I appreciate the importance placed on preserving our culture and history, especially considering the oppression we have faced in the past. We have a stunning landscape and much to be proud of. What I am not proud of and actively dislike are the successive ineffective and landlord-filled governments that have neglected to stem the rising tide of housing issues and have failed to reform the healthcare system while enriching themselves. Story 73. Italy. I love history, food, culture, and landscapes. Sometimes I feel frustrated with Italians. They make me angry, but this is also part of our nature. Story 74. Netherlands, where I grew up. Like, how easy it is to get around the country. Infrastructure is of high quality and most parts of the country are well connected. Dislike the political standstill that probably won't end anytime soon. Belgium, where I study and spend most of my time. Like, food and beer are generally of higher quality than in the Netherlands. Belgian deep fry places use animal fat instead of seed oils used in the Netherlands, giving fries and snacks a better taste. Healthcare is also better here. Dislike poorly maintained infrastructure and some buildings compared to neighboring countries. Belgium has stunning cities, but poor maintenance makes some areas look more shabby than they actually are. Traffic on the R1 in Antwerp is also horrible. Story 75. America. I appreciate the freedoms I have been given. I dislike that people who wear masks are often persecuted simply for trying to exist and are treated as less than human. Story 76. I am lucky we have the National Health Service. With all my health issues, I likely would not have survived if I were in the United States, at least not without life-changing levels of debt. However, the current political landscape is very worrying for disabled people. The political left has just passed an attack on disabled people, as if disabled people receiving support is the cause of the country's economic problems. In reality, it is the wealthy taking everything. Multiple homes, tax breaks, loopholes, everything, and then making everyday people turn against those who need help the most. It is sickening, and since the COVID-19 pandemic, I have basically lost faith in society, not viewing my life as forfeit in this environment. Story 77. From Colombia, I love the food, but the discrimination is very serious, and the education is somewhat mediocre. Story 78. India is a land of vibrant cultures, deep roots, and rich history. I love how a Muslim can celebrate Holi and Hindus can celebrate Christmas without religious barriers. Language and lifestyle change every 1,000 kilometers. I dislike traffic and pollution. Story 79. United States. Many appreciate the country for its food and media. However, some criticize it for its over-reliance on firearms, its issues with racism, and the actions of several of its authoritarian leaders. Story 80. I think no country is perfect. Every place has things to be proud of and things that need improvement. I love seeing communities trying to make positive changes, even if progress feels slow sometimes. Story 81. Russia. I like the nature here. What do I hate here? Well, to be honest, I hate that I have to hate other countries just to be able to live here, and I hate being hated by others for no reason. I also hate the fact that I cannot say much about the hate because we are being controlled. Story 82. Ireland. Many people romanticize Ireland, specifically Dublin, but it is one of the worst places you can live. Drug deals, gang feuds, petrol bombs, knife fights, that's the norm. To put into perspective how normalized drugs are, when my friends and I were about 7, we used to buy sweets called dip-daps, which are white sherbet and a lollipop. We would pour out the white sherbet, line it up on the packet, and pretend to snort it like cocaine. We were 7 years old. On the positive side, the country can be quite diverse sometimes, and people are kind. Story 83. Reading through these comments, I think most of us cannot afford to live. We hate our politics. We are one people. Story 84. Scotland. I love the culture, the history, and the scenery. I do not like the amount of crime and the limited housing available. I have realized I can save to buy a house faster than I can rent one. Story 85. The United Kingdom can be very live and let live on a person-to-person level. I hate that the current political climate is creating random division that is removing the live and let live attitude I love so much. Story 86. Australia. I love most of our wildlife, the environment, the geography, the people, and most of our culture. Australia's history is also really interesting. I dislike our government and what it has done throughout history. Story 87. Australia, Mid-East Coast. I love that we are not really over the top about politics, cultural identity, or religion. Very happy-go-lucky crew down here. I do not like how climate change is affecting us. We have flooding every year now, where it used to be every 10 years, plus cyclones, bushfires, and droughts. Story 88. India. The culture, the food, the people, everything is just amazing. Citizens are united. If there is an issue, people will actually care about you and help you out. In the end, no matter what, I still love my country. Of course, not every country is perfect. Everyone has their own ups and downs. But the corruption and the lack of civic sense are what I really hate about my country. India is a beautiful country, and people are welcoming, but some individuals do some wrong things, and everyone gets blamed for those actions. There is a stereotype that people in India do not wear deodorant or bathe regularly. That is not entirely true. Yes, a few people may not, but most of us take baths regularly. The education system is another issue I dislike. One thing I hate the most is comparison. For example, oh, look at her daughter getting 99.89%, while you just got 90%. Trust me, unlike other countries, India has one of the strictest syllabi. There is a place called Kota, which I saw in a short film. It was traumatizing. The pressure students go through is immense, and the suicide rates are high. What does the government do? They express regret over the students' deaths and promise preventive measures. Then nothing changes. What about pay and employment rates? It is just a joke. I am currently in Canada and am a bachelor's degree student. I was baffled by the education system and how much they care about students' mental health. After that, I started taking my mental health seriously and realized how much I was scarred mentally. The good thing is I learned from it and became a stronger version of my previous self. Whatever happens, I love my country. Be a better person, help others, and show kindness even if you might not receive it back or even get betrayed. Trust me, karma does exist. Story 89, Australia. I love that we have golf 12 months of the year and the best climate in the world. I hate the way that the majority of drivers are on a dangerous mission, driving way too fast, way too aggressively, and constantly running red lights. It is insane. Story 90, Bangladesh. Love the beautiful landscapes, scenery, and rich food with a good diversity of culture. Dislike the people who can be extremely judgmental, insensitive, and toxic. Also dislike the politics, which is one of the major reasons this country has yet to prosper. Story 91. India offers limited freedom regarding sexual and intimate life. People are often judged constantly, making it difficult to navigate these aspects, especially since most of us live with our families, and parents are not very open-minded. Story 92. I am from the United States of America. Among other reasons, I appreciate it because of the freedom granted to us by our founding fathers 249 years ago. Freedom is truly the keystone to power, which leads me to some dislikes. I dislike America for many reasons, but mainly politics. The country is very divided and uneven, and we are expected to choose a side and adopt the associated stereotypes. Story 93, United States of America. Because it is and always will be the greatest nation. Love all parts of this planet. Do not let politics taint your perspective. Do not let media outlets and social media trolls make up your mind. Live it, breathe it, explore. Always be kind to others. Story 94, United States. I appreciate our military strength. With the current state of the world, it is reassuring to know we probably will not lose. I dislike the number of people here who do not love America. 75% of us love our country, and the other 25% are trying to destroy it. Story 95. I am Ukrainian. My country is perfect, even more than perfect to me, in the way people think, how they act, and the climate. However, there are two things I hate. First, there is a war. Second, too many fake Ukrainians, also known as Malorosi, are brainwashed. That is why I call them fake. Story 96. United States. Love being the best, hate American Airlines. Always fly Delta. Cue the ruffled feathers. Story 97. Ireland. Likes. Most educated county in the world. Low unemployment. High salaries. High social cohesion. Dislikes. Housing crisis. Homelessness crisis. Hospital bed crisis. Open borders. Young male suicide epidemic. Story 98. United States. Love. The endless options for everything. Places to go, things to do, cultures to experience, and of course the food and intelligent, open-minded people. Hate. The humidity in the southeast and ignorant, closed-minded people. Story 99. Palestine. I like that we Palestinians all over the world still believe in our identity and our rights. I hate that our situation remains unresolved. I have been treated as a refugee all my life, so being a citizen is a unique goal for me. Story 100. United Arab Emirates. I feel like all the migrants here only come to make money and that's all they talk about. I fear they despise the country, its nature, people, and culture. Everyone would leave instantly except us locals if they were ever accepted for a Western visa. They are 90% of the population, and there have been many times when I noticed I was the only local after walking into a huge crowded shopping mall or area. What I love is the wealth, privilege, pride, and authority I feel when I wake up every day and remember I am Emirati. Story 101. Edit. The downvotes tell me everything I need to know. It seems none of you like diversity. Then again, what do I expect from nationalist Americans and predominantly white Europeans? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.